And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Linda Meris. She's a channeler and also a comedic and dramatic actress from New York who has had multiple near-death experiences and a life of paranormal activity. Linda, thank you for joining me and welcome.
No, thank you for having me.
Well, Linda, since you've had multiple NDEs, it's probably best to just kind of start from the beginning. So if you don't mind, can you tell us, when did all this paranormal activity in your life start?
I say, as a child, probably about 5 or 6, I was in my bedroom in a semi-conscious state, and I would hear people talking around me like I'm in a different reality. But I didn't understand what it was as a small child. You don't understand what's going on, but people are actively speaking. And I'm looking around, and it just seemed weird. And then I would go back to sleep, and then it would stop. So that happened. And then another occurrence was my brother and I went to see Santa Claus in our hometown. And this to me was very significant because you can't forget this. And we got to the parking lot where Santa Claus was going to land. And my brother was holding my hands. He grasped it tightly. But then, as the crowd emerged, going forward from behind and in front, there, when Santa was about to land in the helicopter, my brother lost my hand. Like he just, it just went. All of a sudden, I'm looking, and my brother is gone, and I can't see him. I'm alone. I'm 6 years old, and everyone seemed so big and powerful. And people all of a sudden got excited because the helicopter was landing and pushed forward. People were pushing from behind me and in front of me. And I was just, I was, I was falling to the ground because no one heard me. No one knew there's a little girl in the crowd alone. And I was about to hit the pavement and be stampeded when all of a sudden, before I hit that ground, I noticed half of the crowd. This is amazing. Half the crowd, like in the center of the crowd, some went to the left and some went to the right, out of the crowd. And the people behind me, I didn't feel coming forward. All I knew as a little child was, oh, I have a way out. I got out of there. And my brother's hanging out, waiting for me, thinking, I'll just wait for her to get out of the crowd. And we were lucky to get a glimpse of Santa Claus, and we left. He never said anything. I never said anything because I was too young to say what was going on, because I couldn't do that as a small child. I just knew that, oh, people got out of the way and I got out. But it was scary. It's the feeling that just about to be stampeded. And it was horribly frightening, terrifying. And it didn't happen. And I say that was a near-death experience, a divine intervention, if I ever saw one.
Do you think angels pushed the people apart or what?
I feel definitely either my spirit guides, God and angels, whoever, but I was not meant to hit that pavement and die. It was too miraculous. If there was a movie of my life and these occurrences, the special effects would be off the roof.
Where were you in New York that Santa would come down in a helicopter?
Long Island, Glen Cove, Long Island, is where
Oh.
I was born and raised.
All right. Well, you had that experience. Did it change you in any way?
At the time, I didn't know. I'm sure I had more dreams, but I didn't write them down because then again, I was a small child. So I remember more from adolescence. For instance, this is in the book. I was with a friend, a male friend from school. I believe it was still, maybe it was high school or was it junior high? I'm not sure. I think junior high or high school, whatever. And we took a walk in the woods nearby his house. And he was a friend I could talk to and felt comfortable with. And all of a sudden, he looked at me differently. He was giving me a look like he wanted to actually attack me. I'll be honest.
Hmm.
It was, he was getting aggressive. He started coming towards me. I remember backing up a little, and then he stopped short, like, and he looked behind me, like beyond me, behind me, and said, "What was that?" I didn't see anything, but something he saw, someone he saw, he, and it wasn't just like, I feel guilty, I'm not going to do this. It was, what was that? And then he backed off, and he looked like out of sorts. And I thought he saw a ghost. I saw a spirit. Somebody protected me there. So that didn't happen. And I
Wow.
just remember I didn't speak to him again. I don't remember anything after that about him, but I didn't get attacked.
Now, didn't you have a near-death experience while swimming?
Yes, yes. Oh my God, that's also in the book. I was at my hometown beach, and there was a float out in the water, so we used to like to swim to the float. And I remember I'm being on the float. I was wearing a three-piece bathing suit, and I jumped in the water, and all of a sudden, some guys that I knew from school came around me and started tugging at my bathing suit, pulling. They pulled off the skirt part, and then they started dunking me, and relentlessly, like they were about to drown me, because I got to the point where I said, "This is it for me," and I looked up and I said, "Is this it for me?" And a thunderous voice, I heard a male thunderous voice say, "No." And as I was about to submerge in the water, I felt my body go up out of the water and be controlled by a force that swam my arms and legs back to the float, back to the shore, excuse me, back to the shore. I didn't see the guys stopping anything or anyone else that saw what was going on. The lifeguard was probably blinded by the float on the other side, because I jumped off the float where he wouldn't be able to see me, because there was another, I think there was another float to one float to another float, I think. And all I know is that, like I say in the book, I felt like I was in the back seat of the car, but I wasn't the driver. Like I'm in the back seat and the driver is driving me. My body, my arms, my legs are swimming without my wanting it to. It was like I'm watching somebody. It was just the strangest thing in the world.
Are you saying it was like you were out of your body looking at it from above, watching it swim or watching it move towards the shore?
I wasn't above it. I was, it's hard to say whether I was behind it. I know that's the usual thing. People are be above, but I felt part of me was, I in order to feel my body swim, I had to be there, but my mind was not controlling it. I was not, I did not, I could not stop this dunking. I was drowning. I was gonna drown. I was gonna go under. I had no more fight, no
Hmm.
more strength.
You surrendered.
I surrendered, and I was pulled out of the water, and it was the weirdest thing.
Now,
And
you didn't actively swim to the shore.
no, I had no will. I was exhausted.
Sometimes people will comment that they have bilocated. It's like they're in their body and somewhere else at the same time. That's kind of what it sounds like happened to you.
I was nearby. I was not above my body. That I remember, was not above. I just remember, I'm a young teenager. I didn't know about these things. And I just, sometimes you just think that's part of life, that somebody will come and help you,
Hmm.
and you don't make a big deal of it because you think that's part of life. That's what happens until you know when you're older and say, wow, that was paranormal. That was divine intervention. If if anything, it was strongly divine intervention.
Well, who was that voice?
It was a male voice,
Who do you
and
think
I
it
don't
was?
know. It was either my spirit guide. I have an Indian guide, or it was God, or angels, or other spirit guides. There was something there. There was definite force. And I don't remember the guys being pushed away or anything. I just remember being, as much as they were pushing me down and dunking me, this force just pushed me up. And so I remember going like this, but I'm looking like, how's that happening? I'm not willing it. How are my arms and legs swimming? I just I just surrendered to whatever was going on.
Did that change you in any way afterwards?
I I think temporarily this um I didn't tell my mom, who was at the beach at the time. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't report the guys. I didn't want a whole big deal. I didn't want to get my mom upset. Um, I were an adult at the time and I know what I know now, oh boy, I would have spoken up. But I didn't know how to do that then. I was a shy kid and I was just glad to get out of the water.
Yeah. Now, at some point in your life, you got involved in psychometry.
Yes.
What is that?
It's holding personal items that people wear. It could be jewelry, rings, watches, keys are a big deal. It could be clothing that's very close to someone who wears the clothing a lot, like a scarf, a necktie, or whatever. It could be just something that people have in their homes that they're very close to. And I hold the object, and through clairaudience, clairvoyance, I see or I hear words and see movement. I see people that are associated with these people. It doesn't have to be them personally. I could see people that they know, and I say their names sometimes, and it's amazing how it works. But metals are most sensitive to psychometry, and I started doing shows around it as an adult. Of course, I took a course on psychometry, and people told me that I was accurate. I went on weekends to hotels, and they had me demonstrate my psychometry. I was hired at parties in some hotels and clubs. I would go to comedy clubs and do a light way of doing it. I wouldn't be heavy in very serious readings, but I was able to get accurate, authentic, but light and funny at times, humorous, upbeat perceptions.
Hmm.
And that's in the book also. I talk about that. And then one thing led to another, into automatic writing. After saving the memorabilia of a very well-known comedian, and just being that's another one. Was that divine intervention? I feel it was. I was. I took off a day of work that I usually don't take off. Payday. Who takes off payday? They don't have to.
Yeah.
And I think I took off. I wanted to do some errands. I didn't really know. I just didn't feel like going to pick up my check that day or working that day. And I leave my apartment. I walk down the street, maybe three doors down, and something stopped me in my tracks. I see the porter or super of a building, and I say, "What's going on here?" They said this woman, Kitty, moved and were throwing out her possessions. And I said, you can't do that. Let me take them. Went upstairs. Says, I see this big filing cabinet in this apartment. And I see the porter or whoever taking files of paper and throwing them in garbage bags. And I said to him, the fact that he let me in the apartment to me is miraculous, because who was I? Because I didn't say I was a friend or neighbor. I was a neighbor. And he said, if you want this stuff, meet me tomorrow morning and I'll help you get it up your 4th flight of stairs. I was in a walk up. So 165 pounds of paper was in my apartment for 2 weeks before I sent it back to Lady Kitty. So that's after that experience, and I was doodling, writing, because I read about Ruth Montgomery, a political. She channeled people. She was a political columnist, and I was fascinated with her. And I decided, for some reason, I decided to try automatic writing. That could be divine intervention too. All this stuff. And I mean, I was going for comedy and improv, and all of a sudden I'm into automatic writing. And for a year, I wrote. And when I read back what I wrote, it was so foreign to me. I said, those aren't my words. They're incredible. And I just kept writing for a year and put this manuscript in storage because I didn't know what to do with it or who to send it to or whatever. I tried, but it was crazy. For 37 years, it was sitting in storage.
Your book is titled Hypocrisy versus Mysticism, Wisdom, and Morality. How did you come up with that title?
I didn't. The original title was even longer and different. The original manuscript was wild, very, very dense and very. It was hard to simplify at the time because it was my first experience of automatic writing, and I was just writing what I heard. It's like a feeling like spirit behind me dictating words, and I'm just writing the words. I'm not like a writer who thinks about what they're going to write. I felt I was being dictated to, and I just write. And it was amazing because it was when I decided to do a book, I really had to dig through this stuff. Certain things I couldn't put in the book, too personal, and certain words were just, what's the word I want to say? It's just too many words in a sentence. It was very wordy. I think he wanted to make sure I got everything. And he kept saying some of the things again in a different way.
Now
So I
you,
really had to chew it down, I
now
had to chew down that language.
you just said he wanted.
Yes.
So who is he that dictated the book to you?
I'll give you, who's the most controversial, provocative comedian that you can think of?
Well, there's George Carlin. I guess the first
What?
one is probably Lenny Bruce.
There you go.
So
It's in the
you
book.
you channeled this book from Lenny Bruce.
Absolutely.
What was the confirmation that had you say, "Oh, I'm confident this is coming from Lenny"?
The wording, he, the way he described the legal system, what he went through, his feelings. I mean, I have to reread what he channeled because it's foreign to me, because I did not write this. So I have to go through like a reader. Wow, he wrote that. That's incredible. I mean, he I, I'll just give you a little bit of the book. I am a commander who wrote this book as a free spirit to bestow an honest position of my trial and error. I was a persecuted man who rehabilitated through conscious effort. As a trooper, I opposed hypocrisy in full adamant stance to perpetuate righteousness and drive away Sodom and Gomorrah. I speak to conquer poor law and order and promote honesty as a trigger for our survival. Then he goes into, I am an advocate of benevolence and good-heartedness, with moral principles, love for my country. Like I said, I hope people will understand the meaning of my life. The obituary did not clarify my existence. My work was used to destroy me. I was bribed by the courts to withhold my words to perpetuate my guilt. The courts killed me, and pain has not left my soul. I am thankful for those who came to my side. I was the epitome of a bird with its wings cut off. My epitaph should have been Lenny Bruce with tears. I was worth millions after my death, but died destitute. I lost everything I had and would have been wealthy if I shut my mouth. The worst mistake I made was to suffer the consequence of hypocrisy. Too few people knew me. And then he goes about his heroin addiction, a little bit about his ex-wife.
Hmm.
And there were questions and answers. I asked questions, he answered. It's strong.
Has anybody from his family ever read this book?
I would imagine Kitty did. I sent her a copy. Well, it wasn't quite finished when I sent her. There were a few inserts and, of course, editing,
Mhm.
but most of it was there. I would
So,
say most, some new stuff.
so your neighbor Kitty was his wife?
No, no, no. Neighbor Kitty was the daughter.
Oh, was the daughter. Okay.
Yes.
And so do you feel that somehow once you acquired Kitty's all this paperwork and stuff from her that Lenny was able to get in contact with you or start channeling through you?
Well, as I said, I think it was divine intervention. I was there in the nick of time. The garbage bag was coming down the stairs and about to be thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
I saved the whole archive, including his court transcripts were up my kitchen wall. I have pictures of that. I have photographs of what was in my apartment and photos of photos. And I can't remember all of the articles and the writings. I was just so I was anxious and afraid somebody would pound on my door and come after me. I didn't know what to do. The only ones I had in my apartment when that was happening was my brother and a friend.
Hmm.
That's how the pictures were taken. My brother took the pictures, my late brother.
So when Kitty moved out, was she moved out because she didn't pay the rent or had she died?
Oh no, no, no. She's five. Um, I don't know the circumstances. All I know is that she tried to get the super or the owner, the management, to hold on to the file cabinet so she could retrieve it.
So eventually she came and got it from you.
No, 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 no. I sent through another neighbor. She had a business. She offered to let me send the memorabilia back to Kitty in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
I'm telling you, I never took off on a payday. I was right. Oh no way! I'm getting my check. So I know divine intervention was all through this. Was meant for me to be there. For some reason, he said we knew each other in past lives. I was meant to save his work, which is now at the Comedy Museum, um, upstate in Jamestown. I'd like to go see that. And it's hard for me to talk about certain things because I didn't know the guy. I didn't know these people. And then recently, um, Richard Lewis
Yeah.
passed away recently.
Mm-hmm.
I felt this bustling of energy, strange energy. And he channeled some words, past, and I channeled him. So it's, some people say, did you have any other comics? Is George Carlin coming next or something?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I have no control of that. People think I can just say, hey, George, come on. You know, it doesn't happen like that. Why me, who didn't know the guy? It's as I said, only thing I can think of is past lives. I
Bef-
was in school when he was alive.
Before this all happened with Kitty moving out, did you know her and know that she was his daughter?
Yeah, I did know. I didn't know her. I just met her through a neighbor in my building
Mhm.
who was friends with her. So that's how I got acquainted. But I didn't know her. I would see her around the neighborhood, and then I didn't see her for a while, and I didn't think about it. I thought maybe she moved, which she did. I didn't know the circumstances. I just happened to walk by the building on a day off from work and get this feeling to ask what's going on.
But were you aware that she was his daughter?
Oh yes, that I know.
Mm.
Yes, yes, but I wasn't so interested in him. I like Woody Allen. I like Andy Kaufman. I like the physical comics. And so here I get Lenny Bruce. Go figure.
Now, did you channel Freddie Prinze?
No, I didn't channel Freddie Prinze. I saw, okay, here's another one. Dun, 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 dun.
Mm.
I was in a well-known comedy club. Oh, I'll say the name of the club. I didn't say it. Catch a Rising Star. It's a well-known comedy club. And I went in the bar area just for the hell of it to hang out, to meet people or talk to people. And I was standing in the bar. I looked inside the room where people were performing. The show was going on. I want to make that very clear. The show was going on. And I'm standing in the bar area, and all of a sudden, a bar room full of people left left the club, walked out the door. All of them just walked out the door. I'm looking at this. I said, wait a minute. I look again. The show didn't stop. Why are people leaving the bar all of a sudden? A whole group. So I said, oh, that's weird. And then I looked to my right, and three people who were sitting on bar stools simultaneously turned around as if like a movie was being shot. Like I'm watching this dance or something, like sway into place or something. But he turned around facing the bartender. And then all of a sudden I looked to my left, and what appeared ethereal that looked like Freddie Prinze. And I'm looking at him because it was a week after he passed away. So I tell people, I said, this has got to be psychological. I mean, he passed away. Maybe I'm thinking of him. I'm in a comedy club, blah, blah, blah. And then he steps over to a picture on the wall of him, points to it because he's all in white, and shakes his head up and down like that's me. So I said, this is getting even weirder. And I'm looking at him. He's smiling at me. And I said, I'm going to leave. I think I've had enough. I'm about to walk out the door, and I turn my head around. He's still looking at me. That's not the end. Go to sleep, go home, go to sleep. It's nighttime. Da, da, da. Before I wake up in the morning, I hear my clairaudiently in my ear, put on the album America. So, wow, I haven't played that album in a long time. So I'm playing. I didn't hear anything special. The second side, until the last song, some strange song I probably hardly listened to. if I did at all, called Pigeon Song. I played it, and it was symbolic of his life. I had a pigeon by the name of Fred, but I done shot him in the head, and it goes on. I said, holy. I said, what was that? And that was the end of what I saw in that respect. It was wild. I mean, I've had some other recent. Let's see, I'm looking at some of my stuff. Uh, oh, recently, probably about a few months ago, I thought I was in danger. Maybe somebody in the building, but whatever. At 3 in the morning or so, someone was banging on my door. And I said, oh no, that can't be Lenny or Spirit or somebody banging on my door. Banging, banging, banging. I didn't get out of bed. I didn't go near the door. But I did felt someone pressing my arm, touching me, like soothing me. It's okay. It was okay. I don't know who it was. I think it was somebody trying to get help or something, but it was weird. But that was like strange. And another time, some stuff is paranormal, but this was significant because if I missed this mail, it would have been really, really dreadful. I was at the post office and I had a post office box. I was about to go and put my key in the post office box to see my mail. But I see this woman standing in front of my box, not in front, aiming at my box, but to the side of my box. And mind you, there was no one waiting for a clerk at the post office. There was hardly anyone in the post office, period. She was standing to the side, not looking in her bag or starting to write something or work on something in the post office. She was just standing there. So I go and get my mail and I close my box and she looks at me and says, you left something in the box. And sure enough, there was a card that was stuck on a metal piece on the top of the box that I didn't see. For some reason, it got stuck. There was something to do with very important personal situation that if I missed that, that would have been bad. She wasn't there when I turned around and left. And what got me the most was not that she was standing there waiting for someone, but just standing, not doing anything, not going anywhere at that time. I'm telling you, if there's a movie on all this, it will be spectacular. What was that woman? She was put there and materialized to make sure I got that card. What else? As I said, if there were people waiting online, she could have been waiting online. People say, oh, well, wasn't she waiting to go see the clerk? I said, no, because nobody was there. She could have just gone to the clerk. She wasn't going through the pocketbook. She wasn't writing anything, like sending mail out herself. Standing there, standing there. I've had other stuff where people would come up to me and tell me certain things that I would need to know. I'd have to get more specific. I'd have to think about that, but it's happened.
If we get back to your book, was Lenny Bruce known to be a paranormal person?
There again, I didn't know the guy. I would imagine he was open. Oh, wait a minute. After I channeled, somebody brought it up to me. The book, Ladies and Gentlemen, Lenny Bruce, somebody brought up a passage and said, Linda, you have a really small waist. I said, well, what does that got to do with anything? He said he mentioned something in the book, Ladies and Gentlemen, Lenny Bruce, and he looked up like this to say, I see someone I see a woman with small waist. That's what I got. Somebody told me that. I couldn't find it anywhere. I don't know what that book is like that. I didn't, oh my God. So I said, well, do you think it was me? He said, yes. We think all this is you. And then I had this so-called dream just a few months ago. I was like in a line dance, and there were spirits like on left of me and right of me, spirit people. And I was like in the middle, and this person comes up to me, a male figure, puts his arms around me and hugs me. And that was the end of the dream. And my dream group said that was him. That was definitely Lenny, probably thanking you. They all, because we did dream analysis, and the Edgar Casey people, they do dream analysis. It's very interesting and fascinating. So I've had, and I don't know what's coming up, what other experiences. Meanwhile, my brother always told me, he scared me. He used to tell me the boogeyman was going to get me. And he used to come and go creepy crawly in my room and scare me after scary, spooky movies. Well, and then I said, well, I guess boogeyman was a different kind of boogeyman.
Did you have fear of all this paranormal activity, or did you just learn to accept it?
Oh, I didn't have fear. I just accepted it, but I didn't understand why. I didn't understand what my purpose was in all this. There were so many people that knew all these comics more than I did, and they didn't have this experience. Why did Richard Lewis come to me shortly after he passed? And then I read he knew he was a big fan of Lenny, and he knew his daughter. I said, oh, so I feel like I'm a part of this family of people I don't know, but I'm involved.
In the comedy clubs, were you also a stand-up comedian or just doing psychometry there?
Oh, I started out, I didn't consider myself a stand-up. I was more of a comedic actress. I like physical comedy, and I did some of that, but I wasn't really stand-up, so I didn't want to stay there. I became a comedic actress and dramatic actress. And then when I did the psychometry, I came back to the comedy clubs to do an upbeat psychometry show. And that's what I did. And I may go back to that because I joined a comedy group recently, and I will probably do that also, besides sketch and improv. So I didn't leave it. It's still there.
Hmm.
So I was the one that was meant to do all this. I didn't think this book was going to come about after all these years. And it took a lot of work because it really had to be edited. I had to take out so many words in one sentence. And there's one word he kept saying so much um, throughout the book, throughout the manuscript at that time. He kept saying the word semantics. Semantics this, semantics. So we had cut down on the semantics. When I say we, I had somebody working with me. Um, two heads are better than one, and got it together. It's a short read, it's a quick read, but it's intense and it's there. It's what you need to read. It's inspiring and biting at the same time. And I give myself a little credit for my stories, but this is a book that's mostly written by spirit.
How has the book been received?
Oh, the reviews so far are great. I was afraid to look. I went on Amazon. I said, "Oh my God, I can get a one. I can get it." I mean, been getting fives.
Hmm.
I got three great reviews from. Okay, let me look that up. Well, anyway, from reputable award group, and it's I have it. I have posted them, and they gave me 5 stars.
That's great.
I did not expect this, or I took the risk of bombing, like a comic by bombing. I didn't know. Look at now. I feel there are more believers. The podcasts, the paranormal shows. more people are open. So I feel maybe this is the time. Maybe I found the right time to do all this. It's meant to be. It's meant to be. Yes, he changed the first name. The first name was really, I think, hypocrisy versus mysticism, a complete path to a righteous mind. It was like way over the top. So finally I said, look, I did say to him, can we simplify the title? And he came back and put this one. So it's still a big deal, but compared to the other one, it's more understandable.
It's a very interesting title, Hypocrisy versus Mysticism. And that's kind of what made me ask you about it in the beginning. Like, what does that mean? Or at least, what does that mean to you?
Well, there's so much hypocrisy going on, and he fought against hypocrisy and for freedom of speech. So I can understand hypocrisy being part of the title.
Right.
And then mysticism, and he is wise because he's in the afterlife. He's learned a lot, and he was a moralist, from what I learned. I learned some things after. I had to go watch some of his performances. I said, "Who is this Lenny?" So it was amazing.
Now, wasn't one of his biggest things that he was one of the first comedians to curse on stage?
I do. I think he led the way of freedom of speech. He opened the doors. Uh, and then, of course, people like George Carlin and Richard Pryor and others came about. But they all appreciate, from what I channeled, Lenny for 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 opening those doors. Uh, People say, "Well, what do you like the most about what you channeled?" I said, one sentence really hits me, was my favorite, and it was the lighter part towards the end where he says, "It's great to be here, folks. So where was I before they hauled my ass off the stage?" That was my favorite line.
Well, obviously, it's on Amazon. Do you have a
Yes,
website as well
I
about
don't
the
have a
book?
website. I have a Facebook site called Meris the Sea, a Sea of Hope, and I have a book publisher, a Book Baby Bookshop. If they don't want to go for Amazon, they can message me at Meris the Sea, a Sea of Hope.
Do you have anything else besides this book that you're working on that you want people to know about?
Well, as I said, I'm involved now with a comedy group, which should be fun. As far as the paranormal, I've yet to work with investigators with my psychometry. That could come up. I never know. I don't want to go to spend the night in some really horror house. And bring back what my brother said to me. The boogeyman will get me for sure. uh, I, I'm on a. I'm letting it go. Whatever comes up, comes up. Whether acting, I'm open. I am open, and uh, people can have personal readings if they care to. I can do automatic writing for them if they care to get in touch with me. But read the book. And if you're skeptical, you're saying, "Oh my God, what is this?" Read the book and read before you say. Hypocrisy versus mysticism. Can you see it?
hmm
Wisdom and morality.
If people want to ask you questions, how do they contact you?
Well, they can go to Meris to See, a Sea of Hope, and then message me. Facebook, they can do that. And here's the back of cover. Hypocrisy wears its evil veil. Yes, this is a one and done. I don't plan to go writing books. This was a big deal. This was unusual. So Meris the Sea, Meris, the Sea, a Sea of Hope. Maybe you can write that down somewhere.
I can put a link to your Facebook page in the description.
Thank you so much. And also to the book, if you care to. And yeah, and who knows what's going to happen? There's so many things that happen, so many things. And each day it could be another paranormal experience.
Well, before we wrap it up, Linda, can you leave us with one last positive message?
Be open. Even if you've been a skeptic, be open and take in the wisdom, because the spirits in the afterlife, they know what's going on. They know what we need and who we should be. And be inspired by their wisdom. Care about each other.
Linda, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
It was a delight.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.